Hey brothers, thanks for tuning in and watching my video about the number one thing you can do to achieve deep emotional connection in your relationship. It's deep emotional connection that is actually the number one thing that men tell me they desire in a relationship. I find this really great and really amusing for a number of reasons. The first is because we live in a culture that makes all men out to be kind of like Homer Simpson, lay on the couch, drink beer, fart, sit around in your underwear, and want nothing but laziness and sex. And so when men tell me they want this deep emotional intimacy and connection, it always puts a smile on my face because it says so much great things about men and the nature of men that this is what they want. And yet this always seems to be really elusive for a man. And so there's one thing that I always say is really the number one thing a man must master in order to have or begin to experience this deep emotional intimacy and connection in marriage or a long-term relationship. And that is this, brother: acceptance. You see, the issue with being able to have connection deeply emotionally that's connected and intimate is you must be able to accept the person in front of you. And without fail, every man in a long-term relationship will come to a point where he has a decision to make. Does he accept the real person in front of him, or does he keep fantasizing about this version in his mind that this person should be or shouldn't be, and continue to really have that become a source of resentment and anger and hostility and disconnection? You see, we all start marriage with this perfect idea of our spouse in our head. And this is a persona that we create, and they've created for you too, by the way. And then we start to judge one another based on this perception of how the other person ought to be. And this is really what, in my experience, leads people to the power struggle stage of marriage, where they're seriously disenchanted, they're really discouraged, they're not experiencing the life that they want, and they believe the other person, if they would just fall into line, maybe it would be possible. And so this eventually leads people to a crisis. Do I stay in the relationship? Do I go? Either way, I'm unhappy as you know what, and I just can't take it anymore. At the same time, these folks, in this case the men I speak with, they long for this deep emotional connection, but what they haven't connected in their mind is you can't deeply connect with someone emotionally whom you fundamentally reject because you compare them to someone else. And this is really what needs to change for a man to start having this deep emotional connection. You have to just completely abolish this version of your spouse in your head of who they ought to be and choose to love the person in front of you for who they are today. Now, this is usually where a man responds with something we call the yeah buts virus. Yeah, but what about? And then they go into a list of all of the reasons why the person in front of them is not worthy, as they are, of their love and acceptance. But listen, I want you to hear what you're saying when you say this. You're saying that there's qualifications that a person must reach in order to be loved by you. And that means you fundamentally are not an unconditional lover. At the same time, I'm betting myself here that you want to receive unconditional love. And so I want you to see how incongruent it is for you as a man to desire to be loved unconditionally, but not to love the person in front of you unconditionally. And so this is where we need to mature as a human being, to make the decision to love the person that is, and that requires, quite honestly, that you love the person in the mirror that is first. And this is really, in my work with men, the most common source of why a man can't really love the person in front of him, is because he hasn't really learned to accept himself in this regard. And so ultimately, we will love the person in the form of our spouse to the degree of acceptance that we actually love me, self. And without fail, if a man is loving his wife in a way that he's struggling to accept her, I always find that he ultimately doesn't accept certain things about himself, or he believes he is in some way deficient, shameful, broken, not measuring up, etc. So just to bring this around to the main point, if you want to have a deep emotionally connected relationship, you must master acceptance. That acceptance starts with acceptance for self and loving yourself unconditionally. And then from that wellspring of unconditional love, being able to take that and give it to your spouse unconditionally. Now, to do this, again, you have to overcome the yeah buts virus. And let me just tell you, it's tough, but you can do it. And as you do, what you'll see is that unconditional love you have for self and for your spouse will start to breed connection. It starts to create intimacy. It starts to create vulnerability. And that connection leads people to actually want to be their best. And this is really why this is such a wonderful thing to do in a relationship, because your love and acceptance of the woman in your life unconditionally invites her to do the same. And it's from that place of each of you loving each other unconditionally where you really begin to build the best relationship you've had yet. If you're not sure how to do this, or if you need more practical help, maybe you need to talk to somebody, or maybe you need to have kind of a trusted advisor and guide through this process, I want you to reach out to me. You can either click the link below if there is one, or go to svenmasterson.com and go up to the menu and click on request a free session. I'd love to talk to you about it. I won't try to sell you on anything. I'll just jump right into helping you try to master this, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care, brother. Bye-bye.